know, this is another one of these stories about the old Colorado Cafe down there in Manassas. We used to have a lot of boys come up in Northern Virginia and cut down trees. You know, if you've ever run into one of these, I call them woodchucks. If you ever run into one of these boys, I tell you what, they got big bear claws with hands, and I mean, these guys are climbing up trees all day long and carrying logs around. They're a tough crew of guys. Well, they used to always slide into my bar down there. I even named a dish after them. It's called Tree Guy Shrimp. And one of the other things is I made a special drink for them. It's called a blue motorcycle. I invented it myself, and what it was basically a Long Island iced tea, but I added a secret ingredient in there. And what that secret ingredient was blue caraca. But anyway, one night they must have had a pretty good day, probably brought in about $2,000, and they slid into the cafe. And they were sitting at a table, and they ordered up some food, some Tree Guy shrimp, and they were drinking blue motorcycles, and they were getting all jacked up. Well, one thing leads to another, and this little Spanish guy walks into the bar. I guess he was minding his own business, and I noticed that he had ordered up a double Crown and Coke. Well, I went on back to the kitchen for a minute, and I came out, and I noticed that this Hispanic gentleman had put his arm up onto one of these woodchucks' shoulder. And I was thinking, oh my God, I mean, this is not good. Unless he knows this guy, of course, but I don't know why he would. And he was calling this guy John, and his name wasn't even John. So I said, oh my God, this looks like a fight about ready to ensue here. So I came over and intervened at just right at probably the proper moment. And I instructed this young man. I said, did you need to leave the bar? And he said, well, I'm sorry, but I just got a double Crown and Coke and sit up on the bar. You need to leave, at least finish that. And I said, well, you're not going to have the chance to do that. I'm going to give you basically three choices here. Number one is, you know, you can leave the bar as a gentleman and come back in here tomorrow night, and I'll buy you two your double Crown and Cokes there. Well, and as I'm talking to this guy, I'm trying to walk him up to the front door, and I said, the second choice is you give me a hard time on any level, and I'll call the police, and I guarantee you spend the evening in jail. Now, I got him right up to the door, and I told this young fella, I said, you got a third choice here. You come on back in here, and he says, 6 redneck boys here, they're going to knock the stuffing out of you. Well, he didn't really like that, so I just pushed him out the door, locked the door up real quick. I just thought I got rid of him like that. Well, it wasn't quite that easy. See, he went out to his Camaro, locked and loaded a 9 he had in his glove compartment. Then he went to his trunk, pulled out a .357 Magnum. Now, I'm thinking at this point is we got another Luby's Cafeteria on our hands. Now, I'm just staring out the window, and I ran over and I said, hey, you better call 911. I said, we got a problem here. So this young Hispanic gentleman had basically pulled out both of these guns, Long Ranger style, and was pointing them right at me. And I just stared him down because I figured if I ran, he's probably going to shoot me anyway, so I might as well go out like a man. And before you knew it, here they come, Manassas Park's finest, lights blaring, sirens on, and this kid ran off, got in his Camaro, spun around, did a 360 and ran into a light pole. And before I knew it, those cops had those guns up on the hood and had him in handcuffs. So I walked up to the arresting officer and I asked him what he was charging this fellow with, and he said, drunk in public. I said, good God, drunk in public? I said, this gentleman just banished a firearm, about blew my head off, spun around, drunk driving, hit and run. I mean, I could come up with probably 15 or 20 charges on him. The officer looked at me and says, well, I didn't see any of that happen. He goes, if you want, he goes, you can go down to the magistrate and swear out a warrant on this fella. Well, I said, well, I might just do that. Then I got back into the bar and I realized, oh my God, I almost got shot. The whole thing started hitting me at that point. I started getting scared. So I ordered up one of my Farm Marshal specials over Rum and Cokes, and I drank that thing down. Now, I did in fact, calm my nerves a bit, but I really needed to go to a second one to get to a calmer level. And upon drinking that second one, I started getting a little angry, so I decided to go down to that magistrate, like that officer of the law instructed, and swear out a warrant. Now, I went down there, and while I was explaining the story to that magistrate, he asked me if I'd been drinking, and said that I was drunk in public, and he was going to throw me into the pokey. So I said, well, I don't want any part of that, and I needed to leave anyway. So I left out of there. I guess the moral story is, I said, if you're going to go down and talk to a magistrate, make sure you're not drinking, folks. Thanks for watching.